Hello. So let's talk about another film. So this is a beautiful film. It's really an art film, very silent. There's not much music, as you can see. There is one other piece of music that I inserted here, sort of in the middle. It's sort of dreamy synth stuff. But in terms of just pure music, all I have is piano here with some dialogue at the end. Can't show the video for this film because it's still in festivals, but we have permission to talk about the music. And so I wanted to talk about two lessons we learned here. The first one being, if you have a solo piano, how do you deal with dialogue? The goal here for this scene was, the music is kind of starts as diegetic, like we put on a record and we hear some jazz piano, and then the piano kind of becomes the emotional guide for the dialogue. So we're kind of like, almost inserting ourselves into a dream, if you think of it that way. I am not a piano player, so this is another sort of interesting thing here. You see, I kind of split up the piano as we go through. I knew exactly what I needed it to sound like, and I have good enough ears that I can hear all the notes that need to happen. It's just I can't always play them. But these I actually did play. And as you can see, it's a lot of takes to just get, things to happen the right way. Sometimes I have to do right hand, left hand. So if you're really sure about what you're doing, you can do it this way, especially on a micro budget film like this where there's not a lot of money to go out and hire players. This is just me. So first lesson is piano versus dialogue. How do we deal with that? And second is, this was kind of the beginning of the end for me. You will see that nothing's quantized. And even if we look at what Logic thinks I was trying to play, the notes are all over the place rhythmically. It's hysterical. And the reason for this is that, I just played and followed the dialogue. And there's a time and a place for that. More modern films, everything's to a click and blah, blah, blah. It starts to sound very executed. A scene like this, that level of execution kind of can almost take away from what's happening. So this is just rubato piano following the dialogue. I turned off the metronome and I was just like, we're going to follow the dialogue as closely as possible. So let's take a look here. We'll take a listen. The other thing that I did here is this is it's called post-return. This is just piano going out and coming back in from a tube EQ, because I knew that this needed to sound sort of like older, and so I used a tube EQ to kind of make it that way. So a few main themes. I wanted to start by playing the end because I knew where I was going. So let's start there. All right, so I knew I wanted to get here because this is the end of the scene. A doorbell rings and sort of brings the main character out of her dream. So main character's walking to the front door. Cool. So I knew I was going there. I knew it needed to just kind of sound like jazz piano. There's a few other things, layers in here that come in and out. The buchla layer is not being used. This is just morphaging. I bowed a guitar, so I have a violin bow and an acoustic guitar, and we just, made some notes. There's even some like plucked notes in here that I used for raw sound. And then we load it into the morphagene, turn it around backwards, and it becomes this sort of like nice pad that sits in the background. There's a few moments of that just where the piano needed something more subtle and sustained to carry it through the dialogue. Because, piano is really percussive, and you have to kind of like fit yourself in. You have really busy piano and talking. The piano tends to take over or have to be turned down like all the way. So let's just listen from the beginning. I have a couple examples. I'm going to play another film at the end of this, where it's sort of a similar situation with piano and dialogue. So just, listen to how I try to fit things in here. So we put the record on. It's just supposed to sound like jazz. Good. Now from here, main theme. And they start dancing. Break.
Our first meeting. Do I remember? Of course.
Okay, so dialogue's going to sound a little funny because this is like not fixed in post yet. When you're working on scores, a lot of the times that you get very unfinished audio, you get location sound instead of the ADR. So just listen, we're kind of fitting things in, and we're dodging words, and then we're just trying to emotionally guide the scene. I actually sat down with the director to do all this. Like I kind of had like my sketch, and then he sat down and we went through it and like exactly matched the emotions that he was looking for each line.
Do I remember? Of course. You were beautiful. So beautiful. It took some time, but I finally come to realize something. All that is left are the memories. That's all we leave behind.
All right, so a few things to note so far. The piano is way too loud, but you're still able to tell the words. In post-production, by the re-recording mixer, the piano gets turned down a little bit. You can hear the dialogue still audible.
That's all we leave behind. After everything is gone. Memories.
Lots of diminished chords.
I wasn't well. I know.
Here's the morphagene guitar. We're just looking for a sweeter emotion there.
When I was a little girl, my father would take me on these long walks.
So, looking for
Nephew.
Now, dance
Held
returns.
you. I place no blame.
So, before we go on, just listen to like some of the emotional colors here. So we're dancing.
I place no blame.
Place no blame. We're looking for a sweeter resolution there. So that's, we've had like diminished chords this whole time, and then there's that major chord. Which kind of makes it more sweet. Good.
You'd better answer that.
Now, so we're just dodging dialogue still this whole time.
You'd better answer that.
And this is all just suspended 5 chords. We're just trying to get to here. So 5.
Answer that.
And go. Okay. So that's the scene. Takeaways. I kind of panicked when the director said we have to have solo piano here because there's so much dialogue and it's so quiet. So this was the solution, is like, okay, we're going to pretend this is a piano player sort of in the corner listening. And we're just trying to work our way around that quiet dialogue. So that's one solution. Let's look at the next one. So I'm going to cut here and we'll come back on the next scene. Okay, we're back. So last film was directed by Adam Hollaback. I'll put his information in the description and up here on the screen. He is an art film director and just beautiful, beautiful stuff. So now we're going to do a film by Tzvi. I did the same thing here where this is going through a 2BQ. I think I just found that took the edge off of the solo piano. So this is the same idea where it's a lot of dialogue and just solo piano. And again, not a piano player, so we'll have a good laugh here because I had to split up my hands quite a bit to make this work. But again, this is a good lesson in, like, if you know exactly what you're trying to do and you can hear it in your head, you can make it come out with enough effort and time. And I'm pretty fast. I'm good enough piano player. I'm just not two-handed because I'm really a bass player by trade, and that trains your hands to work at the same time instead of at different times. So I can't. It's really hard for my brain to separate that coordination. Although maybe someday we'll get there. So different psychological trick for this one. What we did is I went through and it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm not gonna exactly follow the dialogue in that rubato sense as the last film. This film was on a click. You can kind of see everything looks like a note. It's not all over the place rhythmically. So I used a different psychological trick where repetition makes things move in the background. So the human ear, if it hears something more than once, it sort of like turns the volume down on that sound because it's, less important. Our brains are wired to do that. Like an air conditioner comes on, you hear it come on, but then your brain's like, that's just background noise, and turns it down. Same thing here. We're going to do a lot of repetition. So what's happening here is there's a main theme, there's a theme for the scene for this particular character, and then there's another theme that's sort of like we're in trouble. And I put them all together in this scene because this is like the end here. Premise of the film is that the main character, his brother dies, and he finds a doctor to bring back his brother. The catch is that every time the brother finds out that he's dead and been resurrected, he goes and kills himself because he wants to be moving on. So what this film is really about is moving, we're addressing people who can't move on. And so, we're talking to two characters who can no longer move on. So main character's here talking to the doctor who has been bringing his brother back over and over again, and his brother keeps killing himself. So it's like pretty morbid, but there's also like hope in the morbidity of like, what really needs to happen is the character needs to let go. So he goes to talk to the doctor one last time, and this is what he finds out. So I'll kind of talk through it a little bit as we go. The main theme is going to play right at the beginning, and then we're going to go into Anna's theme, and then we're going to go into the treble theme. So I'll put up the score and kind of point at things as we go. And so the doctor has said at this point, "Come, I have something to show you."
I have something to show you.
Literally. You'll also see that I edited the score a lot. These grayed out notes are notes I went back and muted because I just thought they were too much. So here's our notes for our main theme down here. These first phrases muted. And so it's just an echo of the main theme.
This is my beautiful wife, Anna.
Okay, so here's our main theme right here. We're just going to repeat this over and over again. You'll hear it kind of disappears as we go.
My beautiful wife, Anna. She killed herself 3 years into our marriage. I couldn't live with the pain. It was too much. So I made it my life's work to learn how to bring back. The traditional sciences gave me no answers. So I traveled the world searching for clues and answers. I journeyed into the territory of the mind where no man has gone before. The first time I brought her back, it was lovely.
Okay, next same theme, just adding
First time I brought her
orchestration
back.
here.
It was lovely. We had a honeymoon again. And we lay under the stars, dreaming of our future plans. But of course, she was only half a consciousness. The other half was her earth, yearning for her to come back and die. And again I went to the body. And again I brought her back. I know it was evil, but what else could I do? I couldn't bear the thought of her lying under the earth, slowly decaying, and her face fading into oblivion.
Okay, so you hear there's the theme kind of like disappears under the dialogue by the second time because it's like we've heard it, we're turning it down. We're doing a lot of building tension here too, especially towards the end. One note about the chords. I'm looking for sort of like an almost fantasy type of sound here. So Dorian is our mode for those kinds of shifts where it just sounds sort of fantasy. So this is really just kind of like 1, 4, and 5 down here happening. So it's just D minor. We're going, actually, I'm really implying B flat major, but you can interpret it as G minor. And then we're going G major. We're borrowing a chord from Dorian. So this is a big G major chord in the middle of this theme. And then to the 5 chord to A. But we're pedaling D. Same thing. The more we repeat stuff, the more it goes into the background psychologically.
It was lovely.
So here's our...
We had a honeymoon again.
Minor chord.
And we lay under the stars. Dream.
Okay. And then towards the end, what we're going to do is repeat endlessly. So here's the end of the theme.
What else could I do? I couldn't bear the thought of her lying under the earth.
So I'm thinking about this dialogue is really key. So we're not going to do anything.
I couldn't bear the thought of her lying under the earth, slowly decaying.
So he can't let go.
And her face fading into oblivion.
Here's the treble theme. Here in the left hand.
She's nothing now. She doesn't know what she is. She's a breathing...
Okay, so here's our main theme.
She doesn't know what she is. She's a breathing corpse, a grey shadow. And when I go to sleep at night, I know she's in the corner.
Okay, so we're going to shift to almost a horror theme here because this is pretty messed up. So we have our D, E flat, B flat chord. That's sort of the treble theme underneath the main theme.
Grey shadow. And when I go to sleep at night.
Now, if you want to make something sound like horror, we just walk down in whole steps out of the key.
I know she's in the corner, watching me. Oh, but that doesn't matter. I know she's here with me.
Then we fade out. And you see, this is kind of based around diminished. A lot of this, a lot of what I wrote for this. So it's like these. You would call this a diminished scale starting from C, but I'm starting from D. There's a few outside of that scale notes, but yeah, I'm just searching for ambiguity, and these sort of half whole and whole half scales give you that, and walking down in the whole steps is giving us this horror thing, and a little bit of a surprise there at the end, like almost a jump scare. Okay, so I hope you learned something from this. It's just, there's 2 ways to deal with piano versus dialogue, and the first is to avoid it altogether, and the second is to create something so repetitive that the dialogue can kind of run on top of it, and our brains can just process the emotion and feeling from the music, but not the notes so much. So I'll put some links below. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the stuff, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.